Hi, thanks for joining us. My name is Deb Davis. I'm an educator here at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. Today, I'd like to share with you a little bit about some animals that we have here at the museum that live in the water. Some of them live in the ocean, and some of them live in fresh water, so places like rivers, lakes, streams, and ponds. Karen Deeroff, one of our aquarium's experts who helps take care of the animals, is going to share with us a few of her favorites.
One of the most common species of fish in the Mississippi Sound is the hardhead catfish, not to be confused with the freshwater channel catfish that we often have when we have a fish fry. The hardhead catfish lives in salt water, specifically the Mississippi Sound. They have a very unique way of reproducing. Most fish will distribute their eggs into the water. Hardhead catfish, however, do something very, very different. The female will lay an egg that's fairly large. It's about the size of a marble, and she will hold it in her pectoral, try again, Karen. She will hold it in her pelvic fins, which are, that one's right there is a female, are much, much larger than the pelvic fins on a male. That's a female also. Hopefully a male will swim by soon. Let's see. There's a male. You'll see his pelvic fins are much smaller than that first one we looked at. Her pelvic fins are much larger. So she'll let, that one's a different kind of catfish called a gaff-top tail catfish. So the female will lay an egg, hold it in her pectoral, try again, pelvic fins, and then she will transfer it to the mouth of a male, such as this one here. And the male catfish will then hold the eggs and protect them in his mouth. We call fish that do this mouth brooders. So the hardhead catfish is a mouth brooder. The male catfish will even hold the eggs in his mouth until after they hatch. We had some reproduce here at the Natural Science Museum several years ago. It was kind of cool. There was a male swimming around. He had 4 little babies in his mouth, and you could see 4 sets of eyeballs every time he opened his mouth to breathe. And I will never forget it because he released them from his mouth on Father's Day. Just one of the many interesting fish that are here at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science Aquariums. Personal favorite animals here at the Natural Science Museum is this girl right here. This is a Diamondback terrapin. You may hear some people refer to box turtles as terrapins, but this is the true terrapin. This is the Diamondback terrapin. They're only found on our coast. So the 3 coastal counties in Mississippi, so they live in the saltwater marshes of our state. This is a female, and you see how big her head is. A male looks totally different. Now basking up here on above the water is our male terrapin, and you see how much smaller and what a different size and color and shape his head is. And it's not because he's younger, he's actually older than the female. And he was one of the first animals I was charged with taking care of when I started here at the museum. I was given him when he was just a baby hatchling, even before the new building was open. And we opened in 2000, so he is over 20 years old. And he's quite a bit smaller than the female. She's a good bit larger. And the reason female turtles, like Nicole told you about the box turtles, is they need more room in their body to be able to hold the eggs. So it's feeding time for the paddlefish. Paddlefish are very unique in that their skeletons are made of cartilage. Most fish have bony skeletons. Paddlefish have cartilaginous skeletons. The other fish that you're familiar with that has a cartilaginous skeleton is sharks and skates and rays. These guys are filter feeders, so they are filtering out the small particles in the water. In the rivers and streams, they would be filtering out things like plankton, microscopic plants and animals. Here we're feeding them flake food, similar to the kinds of flake food that you might buy at a pet store. We feed them several times a day. because the filters that keep the aquariums clean actually remove the very particles of food that they would want to eat. You might notice how their mouths are open as they swim through the flakes. Their mouths are pretty big, so that allows their gill rakers, arches that are attached to the inside of to the gills on the inside of the mouth, help filter out the small particles of plants and animals. So again, these are some of the unique species of fish that we have here in the museum. Scientists are actually a little unsure what the paddle is and how it works. So nobody exactly knows that weird shape on their nose, what the function is. So here's what it looks like from the public side, feeding the paddlefish. You can see how wide their mouths are. Oh, look at that. You can see right in their mouth. This is how wide their mouths get as they're feeding. Earlier I showed you what it looks like behind the scenes as we feed the paddlefish, but I thought you might like to see the public side as well. So they're filtering out the little flakes that I fed. In the wild, they'd be filtering out microscopic plants and animals from the rivers. This beauty right here, this beautiful red-bellied turtle, is one of our original residents here at the Natural Science Museum. I was given this little guy to take care of when it was just a little hatchling. I'm not a herpetologist, that's a person who studies reptiles, but somehow when we first started talking about building the new museum, I was given care of 2 itty-bitty baby sea turtles, 2 itty-bitty baby Diamondback terrapins, and 2 itty-bitty red-bellied turtles. This is the one that survived. I stocked him in the aquarium here at the museum when we first opened. He was just a tiny little thing. And almost immediately, unfortunately, he got in a fight with another turtle and lost his left front foot. But he survives here and thriving in the Natural Science Museum. He'd probably be okay in the wild as well. But that makes this little guy one of our oldest residents here at the Natural Science Museum. He's over 20 years old. Obviously one of my favorites. He's going to jump off in the water here any moment. So this is a red-bellied turtle. These are actually not very common. Come on, jump off. Here in Mississippi, when people go fishing, they're often targeting brim, also known as sunfish. There's a couple of different species of fish and sunfish in Mississippi. This one right here is called a bluegill sunfish. This is one that's very commonly sought after by fishermen. There are also red ear sunfish, but a very common fish in Mississippi, but not one that's sought after by fishermen, is this beauty right here. This is known as the goggle eye, red eye, or more commonly the warmouth. They don't get really that big, but look at those beautiful blue scales. Oh, just gorgeous. We don't have many of them on display here in the aquariums, but this one is in the terrarium, showing off his beauty for all to see. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Everybody stay healthy and well. And if you get the chance to go fishing, go for it. And if you find a warmouth, this is what they look like when they're in all their glory. Beautiful, beautiful fish.
Those are just a few of the animals that we have here at the museum. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to see more, come visit us at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science in Jackson, Mississippi. Hope you all have a great summer.